Breaking right now, all three of Ahmaud Arbery's killers found guilty on federal hate crimes charges. Jurors agreeing race factored into their decisions to grab guns, jump into their trucks, chase, and ultimately kill the unarmed black men 2 years ago this week. CBS 46's Haley Mason live in Glenn County right now, where Arbery's family members and their legal team are reacting to this verdict. Haley, they came out with a victory kind of stance from the courtroom today.
Karen, guilty on all charges. That is the unanimous verdict that this jury rendered today. Not even 4 full hours of deliberating, and they came back with this verdict this morning. They had a question this morning asking the judge, how do we read this verdict form? And that signaled to us that they were getting close in seeking what this community has called for, which has been justice for Ahmaud Arbery. Greg McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Roddie Bryan have been convicted of killing Ahmaud Arbery because he was a black man. The jury found that all three men are guilty of violating Ahmaud Arbery's civil rights when they interfered with his ability to run through the public streets of Satilla Shores by blocking him with their trucks, with their weapons. This all resulted in Ahmaud Arbery's death, the jury found. The men also were guilty of attempted kidnapping, and Greg and Travis McMichael were found guilty of using a firearm during a crime. Now, we know that the family has been here day in and day out. The mother has been in most of the time. This family walked out of court today shouting victory. This is 2 years after Ahmaud Arbery was murdered. They said they hoped that this verdict would come before tomorrow, which is the 2-year anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery's death. Ahmaud Arbery's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, thanked the worldwide community of supporters, but she also took the time to lambast the DOJ for trying to push forward a plea deal with the defendants right before this trial. She said that's something that happened against her wishes. Listen in at Ahmaud Arbery's mother responding to this verdict.
It's been a very long, stressful fight for the members of the community, for the city of Brunswick, the state of Georgia, for the people who stood with us through the nation of the United States of America. We would not be standing here today without each and every one of you. I told the DOJ that yes, they were prosecutors, but one thing they didn't have a son that was lying in a cold grave.
Come on now. All right. Come on.
And they still didn't hear my cry.
Yes.
Okay. So again, we got a victory today. But it's so many families out there who don't get victories because of people that we have fighting for us.
And Ahmaud Arbery's mother went on to say she will never heal from this, but instead of Ahmaud Arbery resting in peace, she said he can now rest in power. I asked Wanda Cooper Jones how it felt to see that a black man stood up as the jury foreman to issue this guilty verdict. And she said she felt that jury foreman could see himself in Ahmaud Arbery. They wore their hair in a similar style. They had a similar complexion. And she said it was almost full circle to see him lead this jury to an all guilty verdict, and she thanked the entire jury for these convictions. Meanwhile, the attorneys for the family are moving forward with a civil lawsuit against Glenn County and the former district attorney Jackie Johnson, who failed to bring any charges or prosecute the McMichaels, who she was close with. They're saying that's their next step in seeking full justice. But again, they plan to spend this anniversary thankful that Ahmaud Arbery's death, they say, at least received federal and criminal guilty convictions. Reporting live outside of the federal courthouse in Glenn County, Haley Mason, CBS 46 News.
And Haley, we'll have more from you coming up later on CBS 46 News beginning at 5. Let's bring in for more insight into this verdict, the NAACP Vice President and Civil Rights Attorney Gerald Griggs. Mr. Griggs, thanks for joining us, Attorney Griggs. All eyes have been on this trial since it began 2 weeks ago. What's your reaction to this verdict?
My reaction is that the jury listened to the racial animus evidence and found what happened in Satilla Shores was a hate crime. I believe they followed the government's theory to a T, and I don't think the defense did anything to dissuade them. So I think it was the right verdict, and I'm happy that the family has received some semblance of accountability both on the state and federal level.
You were there yesterday. What was the feeling in that courtroom as you watched the family trying to listen to some of that testimony and seeing those text messages?
I mean, it was very difficult. It was very tense in the courtroom. You could hear Ms. Wanda Cooper Jones cry a couple times, and when the defense tried to blame Ahmaud for his own death. But I think that, everybody understood the gravity of the moment, and I think the jury understood the weight of the evidence. So it was very emotional in that courtroom, but it was necessary to get to where we are now.
And finally, Attorney Griggs, we will see Wanda Cooper Jones in Atlanta tomorrow for this second year as people remember her son on the second year of the anniversary of his death.
Yes, and I think it's right for her to be up here. Many of her supporters came down from Atlanta, down to Brunswick, but I think the whole state is really behind the Arbery family, and I think today the jury showed that, and we will continue to embrace them. Ahmaud's name will live on forever because of the changing of the law, but I think also because of the beginning of the healing that needs to take place from the rhetoric that's been spewed over the last 6 or 7 years. I think it's important for her to be here in Atlanta.
Attorney Griggs, we know you have a very busy calendar as always. Thanks for taking my call and taking this time to talk with us about what this verdict means. Have a great day.
Anytime. Thank you, Karen.
A quick recap on today's breaking news. Gregory and Travis McMichael, along with their neighbor William Roddie Bryan, found guilty of federal hate crime charges. Jurors agreeing all three men violated Ahmaud Arbery's civil rights, chasing and ultimately killing him because he was black. Extended coverage on our website and our free CBS 46 streaming app.